Imagine you've cried for so long that even your tears feel tired. You've prayed until words stopped coming and you've whispered, Ya Allah, when will this end? But what if I told you the peace you're waiting for isn't ahead of you, it's already being built inside your pain right now. Sometimes Allah doesn't fix your situation first. He fixes your heart. He doesn't calm the storm outside. He calms the storm within. You just don't see it yet. Every heartbreak, every delay, every unanswered dua, it's not Allah ignoring you. It's Allah preparing you for something softer, purer, and far more beautiful than you can imagine. So before you give up, pause for a moment and look closely. Because the pain that's breaking you today might be the very thing Allah is using to lead you toward your greatest peace tomorrow. One. When pain stops breaking you and starts building you, at first pain comes like a storm. It hits hard, it shakes everything inside you, and it makes you feel like you're falling apart. You can't sleep, you can't think clearly, and it feels like life has lost its balance. But as time passes, something begins to change. The same pain that once broke you starts to teach you. You begin to see lessons hidden inside your suffering. You realize Allah didn't send this pain to destroy you. He sent it to rebuild you. You start to notice how your patience grows stronger. You no longer react the same way you used to. The things that once made you cry now make you reflect. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start saying, what is Allah teaching me through this? That's when real healing begins. Because healing doesn't start when pain ends. It starts when you understand its purpose. You begin to thank Allah even for the tears, because you see how they washed away your arrogance, your attachment, your illusions. You see how every heartbreak brought you closer to Allah, how every loss purified your heart, how every delay protected you from something unseen. And slowly, without you even noticing, your pain becomes your teacher, your wounds become your wisdom, and you realize Allah didn't break you. He broke what was stopping you from becoming who you were meant to be. Two, when you stop asking why me and start asking what now, when a person goes through hardship, the first question that comes to the heart is why me? You feel like you've done nothing wrong, yet everything seems to fall apart. You look around and see people smiling, living easily, while you're struggling just to hold yourself together. But then comes a quiet moment when your heart is too tired to ask why anymore. That's when your soul begins to change. You stop asking why me and you start asking, Ya Allah, what do you want me to learn from this? Your dua starts to sound different. Before, you would cry, Ya Allah, remove this pain, end this trial. But now you whisper, Ya Allah, guide me through this, give me wisdom, give me patience. That small change means everything. It means your heart has started to trust that Allah knows what you don't. The pain doesn't vanish right away, but it no longer controls you. The storm outside might still be loud, but the storm inside begins to quiet down. You begin to understand that Allah never chooses anyone randomly for hardship. He chooses hearts that He wants to polish. He chooses souls He wants to elevate. Every time you surrender a little more to His will, He replaces your confusion with calm. You stop arguing with destiny and start walking with it. You begin to realize that sometimes the only reason Allah doesn't remove the trial yet is because He's using it to guide you somewhere better. And slowly, the pain that once felt meaningless becomes full of purpose. You look back one day and realize the same test that once broke your heart became the reason you found peace, faith, and closeness to Allah. Three, when silence feels safer than noise. There comes a point in life when the noise of the world becomes too heavy for your heart. You used to run to people, to conversations, to distractions, hoping that something outside you would make you feel better. But now, all you want is silence. You find yourself turning off your phone, sitting alone, and just breathing. You begin to realize that peace doesn't live in crowds, it lives in calm. The same silence that once made you feel lonely now starts to heal you. You stop chasing people's attention. You stop explaining yourself to those who never understood you. You no longer crave to be seen or heard, because deep down you know Allah sees you, Allah hears you. You begin to find comfort in moments of stillness, when it's just you and your thoughts and the quiet remembrance of Allah. In that silence, your heart speaks louder than words ever could. You start to understand that solitude isn't a punishment, it's protection. Allah removes certain people, closes certain doors, and gives you space, not because you're forgotten, but because He wants to meet you there. In your stillness, He teaches you how to listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the whispers of your soul. And soon you discover something beautiful. Silence doesn't make you empty, it makes you full of peace, full of understanding, full of Allah's presence. What once felt like loneliness now feels like safety. You realize you were never truly alone. Allah was just drawing you closer to Him, one quiet moment at a time. 4. When you respond with calm instead of reaction, there comes a time when life tests you again and again, and you start to notice how your heart reacts differently now. Before, the smallest thing would make you upset. You would rush to defend yourself, argue, or prove a point. But now, something inside you has changed. You feel the urge to respond, but you pause. You breathe. You choose silence or softness instead of anger. That calmness isn't weakness, it's strength from Allah. You begin to realize not every situation needs a reaction, and not every insult deserves a reply. You no longer waste your peace trying to convince people who don't understand you. You've learned that sometimes staying quiet protects your heart more than winning any argument ever could. This calmness that now lives inside you is not from this world, it's from Allah teaching you emotional control. Every time someone tests your patience and you hold back your reaction, Allah is writing a reward for you. Every time you forgive instead of fight, you rise in rank. You may not see it, but your silence is your ibadah, your act of worship. It means your heart has learned to trust that Allah sees everything, and you no longer need to defend yourself. This peace that grows inside you is proof that your soul is healing. You are no longer being controlled by your emotions, you are being guided by your faith. That is how Allah replaces chaos with calm and anger with understanding. That is how He turns your pain into peace, by teaching your heart that not reacting is more powerful than reacting. 5. When you outgrow what once controlled you, there comes a stage in life when the very things that once broke you no longer move you. The people who once had power over your emotions, the situations that used to disturb your peace, they no longer hold the same weight. You don't feel the same urge to argue, to chase, or to explain yourself anymore. You simply smile, stay quiet, and walk away. That quiet distance doesn't come from pride, it comes from growth. It comes from understanding that not everything deserves your energy, and not everyone deserves a seat in your heart. You start to realize that what once controlled you only had power because you kept feeding it with your attention, your emotions, and your time. But now Allah has strengthened you from the inside. You've learned that peace doesn't come from getting what you want, it comes from releasing what no longer helps you grow. The old habits, the toxic connections, the painful memories, they slowly fade, not because they disappear, but because they no longer fit the person you're becoming. You remember when a small comment could ruin your whole day, or when someone's silence could make you question your worth. But now you see life differently. You know your value doesn't come from people, it comes from Allah. You don't beg for attention anymore. You don't chase closure. You don't try to control outcomes. You simply trust that if Allah wants something for you, He will keep it. And if He removes it, it was never meant to stay. This level of peace doesn't happen overnight. It comes after many nights of pain, reflection, and prayer. It comes after Allah teaches your heart how to detach, not from love, but from dependency. You can still care, but you no longer cling. You can still feel, but you no longer fall apart. That's when you know you've outgrown what once controlled you. You've risen above the pain that used to define you. You're no longer reacting from weakness, but responding from wisdom. And in that moment you realize that true strength isn't loud, it's quiet. It's being able to walk away in peace, knowing Allah has already written something better for you. 6. When softness returns to your heart after hardship, after going through hardship, most people come out colder, harder, and more distant. Pain can do that to the heart. It can make you stop trusting, stop caring, and even stop hoping. But when Allah begins to heal you, something beautiful happens. The hardness starts to melt away. You begin to feel again, to care again, to love again, but this time with wisdom. The same heart that once felt heavy starts to soften, not because life suddenly became easy, but because Allah placed mercy inside it once more. You start noticing how your reactions change. You no longer carry the same bitterness you once did. You see others' mistakes, and instead of judging, you feel empathy. You remember your own struggles and realize everyone is fighting battles you can't see. That's when you know your heart is healing. When your pain no longer makes you harsh, it makes you gentle. There was a time when being kind felt dangerous, because kindness once got you hurt. But now you give from a place of strength, not weakness. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because you want peace, not poison inside your soul. You understand that holding on to anger only chains you to the past, but letting go frees you to move forward. And through all of this, you start to see the wisdom behind your pain. Allah never wanted to break your heart. He wanted to open it. He wanted to remove the layers of pride, ego, and attachment that blocked His light from entering. The tears you cried didn't weaken you, they cleansed you. The heartbreak you endured didn't destroy you, it made space for softness, humility, and deeper faith. Now, when you speak to others, your words carry more compassion. When you see someone suffering, you don't just feel sorry, you understand. Your heart that was once cold becomes a source of warmth for others. That is a gift from Allah. A healed heart that still feels deeply but no longer bleeds from the same wounds. And that's the sign when after everything you can still smile, still forgive, still make dua for those who hurt you. Not because you forgot the pain, but because you finally found peace that pain could never take away. Etsi, when you feel strength instead of answers. There comes a time in your journey when you keep making dua for change, but nothing around you seems to move. You ask, you cry, you wait, and still the situation looks the same. But then you begin to feel something inside you shift. The pain is still there, but it doesn't crush you the way it used to. The worry is still real, but it doesn't steal your sleep anymore. You start to realize that maybe Allah hasn't changed your situation yet because He's changing you first. You begin to feel a strange strength that you can't explain. You wake up still tired, but somehow you can keep going. You face the same trials, but with a calmer heart. That's not coincidence, that's Allah strengthening you from within. Sometimes He doesn't remove the mountain, He gives you stronger legs to climb it. You start noticing small things, the patience you didn't have before, the calmness you used to pray for, the way you hold back words that would have hurt someone. These are not small changes, these are miracles of the heart. Allah is showing you that even without clear answers, He is still responding just in a different way. You realize that strength doesn't always come with loud victories. Sometimes it comes quietly, through endurance, through faith, through the ability to keep smiling even when nothing seems certain. Allah's help often begins with inner power, because when your heart becomes strong, no storm can destroy your peace. And that's when you understand maybe Allah hasn't given you the answer you wanted yet, because He's busy giving you the strength you need, the strength to wait, to trust, to keep believing even in silence. And when that strength settles in your heart, the peace you've been praying for slowly begins to arrive, one breath at a time. 8. When Allah sends you small signs of relief, sometimes Allah doesn't send a big miracle right away. He sends little signs, soft reminders that He's still with you. After nights of crying and feeling lost, something small happens that touches your heart. Maybe it's a kind word from someone you didn't expect. Maybe it's a moment of calm in your salah. Maybe it's just waking up one morning and realizing that the pain in your chest feels a little lighter than yesterday. These small things may seem ordinary, but they are not. They are messages from Allah saying, I haven't forgotten you. You see, when a person is in hardship for too long, their heart starts to lose hope. But Allah in His mercy never lets a heart that turns to Him stay empty. He sends tiny drops of peace before the ocean of ease arrives. A verse from the Quran suddenly feels like it was written just for you. A dua you recite brings you comfort in a way it never did before. A stranger smiles at you when you needed it most. These are not coincidences, they're divine touches of mercy. Allah knows that if He gave you everything at once, you might not appreciate the journey. So instead, He gives you small signs to remind you that the path is still blessed, even if it's hard. Every small relief is a whisper from the unseen world saying, keep going, the full answer is coming. Sometimes the relief isn't even something visible. It's that moment when you finally breathe deeply after weeks of tension. It's when your heart, for no reason you can explain, feels lighter. That is Allah placing sakina, tranquility in your chest. It's His way of telling you that the worst is over even before the solution arrives. And when you start recognizing these small signs, your whole perspective changes. You stop waiting only for the big miracle and start seeing miracles in the small moments. You realize that even in your darkest days, Allah was never silent. He was speaking to you through mercy, through patience, through every little sign that said, I am still here and your peace is on its way. When calmness arrives before the solution, there comes a strange and beautiful moment in every believer's life when nothing on the outside has changed, but something inside feels completely different. The problem is still there. The pain hasn't fully left. The future is still uncertain, yet your heart feels calm. You wake up one day and realize that you can breathe again. You can smile again. You can wait without fear. That is not luck, that is sakina, the tranquility that Allah sends to His servants before He sends the solution. At first you don't understand it. You think, why do I feel peace when nothing has improved? But that's exactly the mercy of Allah. He gives peace before He gives the outcome. So you learn to rely on Him, not on results. Because true peace doesn't come from everything going right. It comes from knowing that even if everything goes wrong, Allah is still in control. You begin to feel a softness in your heart that wasn't there before. The anxiety that once made your hands shake now feels quiet. The restlessness that used to keep you awake at night starts to fade. You realize that you no longer need to know how things will end. It's enough for you to know who is managing it. That is a sign that Allah has already started answering your dua, not by changing your situation, but by changing your heart. You see, sometimes the first sign of Allah's mercy is not the removal of pain, but the return of peace. Because peace means trust. And once your heart trusts Allah, the outcome no longer controls you. You're no longer begging for things to happen your way. You're simply saying, Ya Allah, whatever you choose for me, I know it will be good. That calmness is not weakness. It's a gift that only comes after surrender. It's Allah's way of telling you that the hardest part is already behind you. The storm outside may still roar, but the storm inside has ended. And that's when you realize peace was never waiting at the end of your problem. It was waiting inside you the moment you placed your trust completely in Allah. 10. When you look back and see the wisdom in the wounds, one day you look back at every hardship you went through and realize that nothing was wasted. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment you thought was the end, it was all part of something bigger. You'll see that the very things that broke you were shaping you into who you were always meant to be. At the time, it felt unbearable. You asked, Ya Allah, why this, why now? But when you look back, you'll realize that every difficulty carried hidden mercy. Every heartbreak carried hidden guidance, and every loss carried hidden protection. There were moments when you felt completely alone, when you thought Allah had turned away, but now you understand He never left you. He was silent because He was teaching you how to listen. He was withholding because He was preparing you for something purer. He was delaying because your heart wasn't ready yet to receive the blessing. Every unanswered dua was actually being answered in a different, better way. You'll remember the time when you begged for something that never came, and now you'll be grateful it didn't. You'll realize that if Allah had given you what you wanted, you might have settled for less than what was written for you. You'll understand that the heartbreak that made you cry also made you fall in sujood. That the loneliness that once felt unbearable became the reason you reconnected with your Lord. And that's when you'll see every wound had wisdom hidden inside it. You'll see how every delay protected your timing, how every loss cleared your path, how every rejection redirected you toward what was meant only for you. The same moments that once filled you with anger now fill you with gratitude. You start to whisper, Alhamdulillah, for the doors that closed, for the people who left, for the pain that taught me patience, because now you see Allah's plan wasn't just better, it was perfect. You realize that pain wasn't a punishment, it was purification. Allah used it to clean your heart, to remove pride, to strengthen your faith, and to bring you closer to Him. Through every wound, He was guiding you, shaping you, softening you, and reminding you that this world was never meant to be your final comfort. He was preparing you for something eternal, peace that doesn't fade, love that doesn't leave, and happiness that doesn't break. And when you finally reach that peace, you'll thank Allah not only for the blessings that made you smile, but also for the trials that made you kneel, because those were the moments when you truly grew. Those were the moments when Allah rewrote your story, one test at a time, until your wounds became windows through which His light entered. So when you look back and see the wisdom behind every wound, you won't feel pain anymore, you'll feel gratitude. You'll finally understand that everything you went through was not meant to destroy you, but to rebuild you, purify you, and draw you closer to the one who always knew exactly what you needed, even when you didn't. And that realization, that peace, that deep, quiet understanding in your heart, that is the final stage of healing. It's the moment when you realize that every single thing that happened was Allah's way of saying, I was with you all along. The peace was hidden in the pain. There will come a moment when you finally understand that peace was never something you had to chase. It was being formed inside your pain all along. Every tear that fell wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a seed being watered for your growth. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every unanswered dua was shaping a stronger, softer, wiser version of you. You see, Allah never wastes your suffering. What broke your heart actually opened it. What felt like a delay was divine protection. What you thought was the end was only the beginning of a new story written with more mercy than you could imagine. Allah was never punishing you, He was purifying you. He was peeling away what wasn't meant for you, teaching you patience, deepening your faith, and showing you that true peace doesn't come when life becomes easy. It comes when your heart becomes firm in Him. Now, when you look back, you'll see that your tears had purpose, your loneliness had meaning, and your struggle had value. Allah was not absent during your pain. He was the one holding you through it, guiding you through every dark night, and bringing you slowly toward His light. And when that peace finally settles in your heart, you'll realize it didn't arrive from the outside world, it bloomed from within, from surrender, from trust, from faith that never gave up. The peace you were searching for was hidden inside the very pain you wanted to escape. So breathe and let go. Allah saw every tear, heard every whisper, and counted every heartbeat that hurt. He is turning your wounds into wisdom, your waiting into worship, and your pain into peace. Your story was never about the pain. It was always about what the pain was preparing you for. The peace you've been praying for isn't on its way. It's already here, quietly living inside your heart.